Now, I really hate to reference an internet meme, and maybe an outdated one, but boy, this movie. Hey everyone, it's Alex, the real Mr. Robinson, and this is my review for the 2019 adaptation of Hellboy, which is not directed by Guillermo del Toro and doesn't star Ron Perlman, but instead is directed by Neil Marshall and stars David Harbour from Stranger Things. So I'm going to describe this plot as simple as possible because it is a simple plot. There was a Blood Queen played by Milla Jovovich who was alive during the days of King Arthur. Yeah, King Arthur's a character in this movie. And she's killed. Her body parts are separated throughout the entire world. But centuries later, Hellboy's caught up in a plot to resurrect the Blood Queen, and it's up to him to save the world. So that's a pretty simple plot, right? Nothing too complicated about that. Well, I'm just going to cut to the chase right now and say that not only does this movie do a spectacular job of making this simple plot a lot more complicated than it actually is, but this is right now the worst movie I have seen in 2019. I'm going to admit something that I probably should feel ashamed about admitting, but I have never seen the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movies. I heard that they're really good, and people have been telling me to watch them. One day I will, but I'm actually happy that I haven't seen them because I have no real frame of reference or connection to Hellboy when it comes to this adaptation. And I'm grateful that this is a reboot done by a completely different studio with a different team of people, because now I won't have to worry about watching those movies for the first time, trying to forget that this one ever exists. Holy crap, it's crap. There's no other way to get around it. There are a lot of factors that play into this movie being as terrible as it is, but the ultimate factor for me is the script. Whenever people see a movie that's truly terrible, they'll often make a joke about how the script was written as they went along, they just made everything up, but this movie really does feel like that. There are several parts of this movie that feel like different movies all in one. Like the first act feels different from the second act, which feels different from the third act. And from what I read, this movie was rewritten several times during production. And usually whenever I hear a story like that, that's never a good sign. And yeah, this movie is definite proof that they had no idea what they were doing. And they might as well have made this movie up on the spot if they were rewriting it during production. Now, what about the main character, David Harbour? Well, he's the best part about the movie. I didn't say he was good, though, because while he's not awful, the whole time he's just doing a Ron Perlman impression. And while I have not seen the Guillermo del Toro movies, I have seen clips, and Ron Perlman definitely owns that role. And with David Harbour, he just feels like a very poor imitation. I'm not really criticizing the makeup because he looks like Hellboy, but honestly, there's nothing about his performance that stands out compared to the little bit I see of Ron Perlman. I feel like if you told somebody to close their eyes and then you played both clips back to back, they wouldn't have been able to tell the difference, outside the fact that one actor is delivering better dialogue than the other. Supposedly, I haven't seen the Del Toro films. But there's just nothing about David Harbour that stands out. And in terms of the other actors, Ian McShane is just Ian McShane. Not really much to his character, and he just doesn't have that much to work with. And with Milla Jovovich, when was the last good movie she was actually in? Because I know she can act. We know she has the potential to be a good actress, but it just seems like every time she's in a movie, she's not only boring, but the movie itself just ends up being terrible. So, I mean, I feel sorry for her. I mean, sure, she's making money, sure, she's getting a paycheck, and good for her, but I just wish she would be in better movies, because, again, we've seen her act. The last time I've ever seen her in a good movie was as far as Dazed and Confused, and that was back in the 90s, almost 30 years ago. God damn, I'm feeling old if the 90s was almost 3 decades ago. But moving on, another thing that really hurts this movie are the action scenes and the CGI. And I gotta say right now, I want to make a public apology to Shazam, because as much as I criticized the visual effects in Shazam, especially those monsters that represent the 7 deadly sins, they actually look pretty damn good compared to the visual effects here. And another thing I can say about the Del Toro films, with the little bit I've seen, those movies have a gorgeous look to them. And not only that, but they utilize a lot of practical work, whether it's in the visual effects or the production design. This movie is just a dark, bleak, ugly, and disgusting CGI abomination. And the CG effects are on screen for so long, especially one character that's this humanoid pig. It looks awful, and the lip movements on that effect don't look convincing. They don't match up with whatever the character is saying. So I'm going to cut to the chase right now because there's no point in me ranting on this movie. Is this the worst comic book movie ever? I won't say it's the worst because I think movies like Halle Berry's Catwoman, the 2015 Fantastic Four, and X-Men Origins Wolverine are far worse. But this movie's definitely one of the worst. It's just ugly, it's boring, and throughout the whole movie, I wasn't even angry. I just thought, alright, this is not good at all, but I'm just not angry, so don't waste your money. And then, at the end of the movie, Hellboy delivers a pun that's so predictable, so telegraphed from 10 miles away, not even a mile away, but 10 miles away, and it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I'm glad that this rating fits so perfectly with this movie, but Hellboy could go burn in hell. That pun right there was the breaking point. A lot of the humor in this movie just really bugged me as well, but it's that one pun at the end where I was like, you have got to be friggin' kidding me. You don't deliver that pun and expect to get away with my second lowest rating. No, not at all. This is easily the worst movie I've seen this year. And I'm curious to see what will top this, if anything could top this. And there you go, that's my review for the 2019 version of Hellboy. Now I want to know what your thoughts are on the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Were you excited for this movie? Are you a little disappointed with what I have to say? Let me know down below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and of course leave a comment. Don't forget to support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.